stir fry.
Oof. Yeah, I had too much rice. Speaking of stir fry, oh,
Yeah, I had a lot of rice.
because I think it gets in you and then expands.
Yeah, and that's good. That's going to be happening to me during this recording because I just finished it.
So did I. We're both dead.
We're going to be in pain.
I'm like, oh. I came down here, then you texted. I'm like, oh, we may as well start early. Let's just get this. Let's get going.
Yeah. I think the last time we did this episode, like it was pretty good. I remember I heard some feedback on it. So
we do got to remember though to put these on Instagram because these are going to be good pictures.
Yeah,
because I think it'll be easy now because I favorited them, so I won't have to go digging for them.
Yeah, I'll just take notes of whatever I bring up.
Yep. Okay.
Or hey, everybody,
we are here getting ready to record the show for Monday. We're going to do a little different. Actually, we're going to do a show like we did probably a couple months back. Scott and I are going to go through some of our old pictures. Mine are from 2006 and 2007. And we're going to tell some of the stories behind these old pictures. Now, I'm going to be able to flash mine up on the screen because I have screen sharing because I'm actually in the studio. Scott will kind of set his up with words, and because I mean, this is what most people are going to get on the show anyway, unless you're.
You probably should use words for yours too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's an audio podcast, but if you're here tonight, you're going to get the bonus of being able to see the pictures too as we go. So yeah, you know, they say a picture's worth 1,000 words or whatever, so we're going to try to make it. So
hopefully some laughs because I think laughs are important.
Yeah, and especially
maybe a few tears.
Yeah, maybe we'll see. All right, I think we're set. Oh, let me do this.
What if I could sell my tears? Like if I cried like during the podcast, I could sell them on eBay. Scotty G's tears from episode 2230.
I used that on today's show. I told the ladies, I said, I got you the wrong Christmas presents. I shouldn't have got you Hubgrass and a gift card. I should have got you Splash Mountain water. If I'd have only known it was so popular.
If only you knew.
Oh yeah. Let's see. Never do this. I'll make sure I'm not showing the wrong thing. Okay. We're at 22:30. Monday's not a holiday or anything, I don't think.
Nope. Just a regular old Monday. I'll be working.
Yep, same here.
Dude, I worked this Monday. It was like I had 4 Mondays off in a row. It was kind of
Monday.
No, I forgot. Beth actually called. She's like, "So, how was working on Monday?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, it sucked."
I bet. All right, here we go. Welcome to episode 2230 of the Be Our Guest Walt Disney World Trip Planning Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Rallman from BeOurGuestPodcast.com and one of the senior agents over at the Magic for Less Travel. Happy Monday to you. Hope you had a great weekend and your team is now Super Bowl bound. Or again, like I always say, the team you hate, hopefully they lost. You know what? Either way, it's a win-win, right? We're in a non-NFL town now, so it doesn't really matter. But I just want to see a good game, you know, and get to enjoy the big game here 2 weeks from yesterday. So we're going to have fun with that. But until then, we've got many, many podcasts to get you there. So joining me today, we're doing a little different. No trip report today. We had a last-minute cancellation, but that's cool because we have a fun show headed your way. Scotty G stepping in, and we're going to have a good time today. Scott, what's going on?
Hey, Mike. Happy to be here as always. My NFL team did not make it, but you know what? Looking at like the conference championship games, like I'm almost fine with any combination. I'm with you. Like I want to see a good game, want to have a good time, you know, snack all day, things like that. But I think whatever the combination of the AFC and NFC is, I'm going to be happy with. So it should be a fun Super Bowl.
Yeah, I really don't, you know, have like last year I just didn't want the Rams to make it. And of course they won the Super Bowl, but karma came around, man. It was beautiful this year.
Well, yeah, and the Lions have their draft pick, so that worked out pretty good too.
Yeah, there you go. That's even better. So yeah, I mean, it worked out well. My dad got a Super Bowl ring, so he's super proud of that. He flashes it all the time. I think he even wore it to church when he got back because they don't get it immediately. He got it like over the summer, and he did wear it to church, I think. And I'm like, you're not supposed to wear that thing. Like because it like came in a box that the box has like a little, you know, like a carousel. I mean, it's a fancy thing. Mm-hmm. And yeah, he's proud of it. So he got a Super Bowl ring. So now the Rams can lose every other game and I'm good because they abandoned our city. But yeah, I'm cool with whoever, you know, I did nothing against the Bengals or the Chiefs or the 49ers or the Eagles, you know, and you know, we got a former Jalen.
I got friends that support all those teams too. So I know I'm going to have a friend that's heartbroken, but I'm also going to have a friend that's happy when it's all said and done.
You don't want to go against Moose. But then
I know that's the thing. I'm kind of pulling for Moose here, but he just got one a few years ago. Like come on now.
I know it's
the
rough.
Bengals have never like won one. I mean, the Bengals would be kind of sweet
with our podcast. So I know somebody that's a serious fan of like every single team. That's what's crazy. It's like, it's a Griffiths, like they're hardcore Bengals, right? Yep. Moose and everybody Eagles. It's I know somebody for every fandom. So it's just stay clear.
The 49ers are tough for me to find a strong fan of, but that's the team I like the most out of what's left. So we'll see what happens.
All righty. So today we did a show like this a couple of months ago where Scott actually brought this idea to me, and I love this idea because and I think we all have this experience with our smartphones and with technology lately, is that if you use something like Google Photos, or even Apple does this with their photo backup services, you'll get kind of the photo of the day, or, on this day 5 years ago, it might put together the little 30-second movie with some background music and some, Ken Burns effects, things to make it look really cool. And then you get kind of, sentimental about it. You're like, oh, look how young Mallory was. And, look how good I looked. 5 years ago, I looked 20 years younger. It's crazy. So you get all these old pictures. But Scott and I always text each other. Like I always send it to Scott, like, remember this? Because, we've been friends for quite a while now. I'm like, man, look at us. We look so young. Like, this is the day we met at, it wasn't Pecos Bills. It was the other place on the other side, across from
Tortuga Tavern, I think. Right?
Tavern. Like, look at us, man. We are young looking.
We look good.
we look a lot better. We always text each other back and forth. And Scott came to me and said, we should tell the stories behind some pictures, because so many of our pictures are not only funny stories behind them, and we're an audio podcast, so we're kind of storytelling as we go to kind of entertain you, but also so many of our stories have so much Disney history in them that is no longer with us, that I bet you've forgotten about, and we can remember again through these pictures. So Scott, start us off. Tell us about your first picture that you came up with. Tell us about, because obviously it's an audio podcast, set the picture and tell us the story behind the photo.
Yeah. So thanks. I think this is a fun episode, Mike. We'll be able to talk some funny memories, and I want to hear some other people, share their photos and tell their stories, because that's what it's all about to me. But I think I'm going to start with a bad thing here, Mike. I mean, it's a good memory, but it's bad because it's no longer with us. And that is the tie-dyed cheesecake at Pop Century. So I was just playing through my phone the other day, scrolling through like you were just saying, and then that memory popped up of this nice, thick, layered tie-dye cheesecake in this big case, and it was just all colorful. And I was like, oh my gosh, I remember how great that used to be. I would order one every single night I was at Pop Century Resort. And then now it's like in a little cup, and it's still satisfying to some degree, but man, is it disappointing when you think about what could have been, years ago. How do you feel about that?
No, I'm the same way, because I'll tell you, all the pictures that I'm going to use for today's show come from either 2006 or 2007. Those two trips way back when. Okay, Mallory was born in 2008, so this is pre-Mallory. This is just when our family was, myself, Pam, and Paige. And so I was looking through those pictures. We only stayed at Pop Century back in those days. That was it. That was like we went every year. And I as well found the wedge tie-dyed cheesecake, slices, and because I always took pictures of them too. And I did the exact same thing. I said, that is the OG. That's how it's supposed to be. The cups are okay, but man, if they would go back to the wedge, the actual triangular piece of pie, that would
and you could still do this today, but like my tradition was, Mike, and I think you do the same thing. I even see you, like, you just did this over marathon weekend. You shared them on Instagram a little bit. You have a night out with friends, whether you're in the parks, you watch a fireworks show, or you have a late dinner, you take the bus back to your resort to get dropped off. You tend to go through the Everything Pop food court, right? That's kind of like the hub of the resort, so you're going to kind of find your way through there, and you can't help yourself to go through the food court and find a snack. Like maybe it's a cookie or a cupcake of some sort, but every time I'm at Pop, even after the change, I still go for that tie-dye cheesecake in the cup. And I tell you, there was not a time when it used to be the wedge that I would not. I mean, if it was a 7-night trip, I was having 7 of them. I had one every single night.
Exactly. I did too. And still to this day, I mean, I almost get one of the cups almost every night, unless like, I'm leaving a park and I get an ice cream cone or,
Yeah.
something else. But I probably get it at least half of my nights, if not more.
I mean, you could just like get it that night, put it in the refrigerator, and have it the next morning for after your run for breakfast. I mean, that's a good call too.
I've done stuff like that too. Just say it. Okay. So my first picture that I have up here on the screen, it's interesting because I think that this is from 2006. These are all summer pictures because back then we only went over the summer or we went occasionally between Christmas and New Year's because obviously we were both teachers at the time. Paige was about 8 or so, I guess, in this picture. She's little. And it's a picture of her with Figment. And now this is a full-size walk around Figment. I would guess in this picture, Scott, you can see it. Figment's what, like 8 feet tall? I mean,
Figment is huge.
Because you can see the door jam behind. The Figment's right in front of the door.
Yeah.
Figment's at least as tall.
I mean, Figment is so big. I think he could beat up Goofy. I mean, he's just huge.
Gigantic. And the thing was, as I recall this picture, right in where he's getting the picture taken is right in front of the door, and over the door it says Figment's Place. So this is obviously at the Imagination Pavilion, but there's a set of doors where I can't remember what was in Figment's place, what was inside those doors, because Figment is outside. Like he's outside of the building. He's on the concrete out by the shrubs meeting Paige. And the funny thing is I recall this picture is that Figment was out there and there was not like a queue or a line or anything. Like you could just walk up to Figment and now there was like one handler, like a person in a blue shirt, but there was not any kind of a line. Nobody wanted to get their picture with Figment. It was just, well, there's a character over there. Wow. Paige, you want to get your picture with Figment? Because I don't think people knew in 2006 who Figment was, because I think it was too far away from the fervor of kind of the when Journey into Imagination was the hot attraction to, now where like, people will line up or travel from Australia to get a popcorn bucket.
I know. Could you imagine? I was thinking about the popcorn bucket too, Mike, like all the hoopla around that. Could you imagine if this was a character meet and greet? I mean, you would have to, it would be an individual lightning lane that's $45 a day, probably, just to get the character meet and greet.
Right.
And people would pay for it.
It's a great, it looks awesome. Like Figment looks great. He's got the yellow and red sweater on that says Figment. He's got the orange horns. I mean, this would, this is somewhere at Epcot, right? This Figment needs to come back. The 8 foot tall some people call him Figzilla. Needs to come. Kim's in our live chat. She's a PhotoPass photographer down at Walt Disney World. She says this is the spot where there's a Disney Visa meet and greet right now. So there you have it. I didn't, because I can't play. I know it's.
And Kim, I didn't even know there was a Visa meet and greet going on right now. So I need to talk to her offline because that'd be awesome. Like I want to go to that.
It was gone too because I didn't know.
Because I remember those. Speaking of things being gone, I used to do that every time too. We go to Innovations, Interventions, or whatever, and like we would always do the photo meet and greet with your Disney Visa. Do you remember that, Mike?
Yeah, totally. And like you didn't know what character was going to be in there, right? It was like a mystery character.
It was a mystery. And then it was great because like then you can go to the camera shop later that day and they give you the printout for free. Yeah, like I was like, I'm getting something for free. This is awesome.
Like, it wasn't even digital. It was like a photo, like physical.
If I go downstairs, I'm going to find like 25 of those things, like because we would do it every single day we were at.
We did too, but I don't know what I did with them. I know because it was free. Like I didn't value it. Okay, give us the next story from your next picture.
All right, so mine is from within my first hour, Mike, of being on Walt Disney World property, March 8th, 2011. And it's us on Magical Express. Now, Magical Express is not the thing I'm talking about. Like, I don't want everyone like coming at me. That's not what I'm talking about here. But it's us pulling into Caribbean Beach Resort, but we're not pulling in from Victory Way like you would today, Mike. You're pulling in from Buena Vista Drive, which is now where the entrance would be to Disney's Riviera Resort. And it's just funny, like looking at that, like the sign, like the marquee, like the Welcome to Caribbean Beach, like that doesn't even like exist anymore. It's a completely different resort. And then when you entered there, you would go to, do you remember, Mike, what it was called?
The old Customs House.
The Custom House, yes.
It's the weirdest thing ever, right? Because like I remember the first time I stayed there too. Like you went in there and you expect like this is where the food court is. This is where the gift shop is. And it was just like, this is nothing. This building is just it's the weirdest thing. You only check in here, now get out. It was so weird.
Could you imagine? Like this is my first ever, like I'm new to anything Walt Disney World. I don't really know what I'm doing. I know there's like a Magic Kingdom and there's an Epcot and that's about it. and I'm like in this small little area. I'm like, and then they like check us in, like, okay, you're in Jamaica, blah blah blah, and I'm like, how do I get there?
Yeah.
Like, I had no idea how to get there. Like, oh, you got to take the internal bus. Like, excuse me.
It was, I
But
know it was,
yeah,
I wonder what their, it was such a strange setup because, like Riverside has, very similar, like you go into the main building there, but it also houses the gift shop, the River
yeah,
Roost, and the restaurants and stuff like that. This was just like a building in isolation. Like you went in there, checked in, and then just left and had to go, to the other building to get to the food court. It was like a annex of like the food court,
yeah. The
gift
old
shop there.
Port Royale is what it's
Yeah.
called, and that's still there today. Like, and I love what they've done with that. But I feel like this is a good change that's not there anymore because
I agree.
as you hear from us, like the custom house was just confusing. Now we did lose a building, we lost Barbados in the process. But you know what we gained? We gained a fantastic resort, the Disney Riviera
Yeah.
Resort. That makes much more sense than the confusing custom house. We got a great restaurant, we got Primo Piatto, we got the swimming pool. Like this was actually a good thing that happened. But it's fun to look back and just I'll never forget. Like we were so confused, and a great cast member must have read our face, Mike. And he was like, "Where do you guys need to go? Like we're told we got to get on an internal bus and go to Jamaica or something." And he had like this white van, like he must have been like doing deliveries or something. He's like, "Get in the van," like which is also kind of weird, right? Like
He's
we're
right.
just gonna get
But they probably see that all the time, right? I mean,
yeah,
think about it because I mean, we think right now because we've been so many times, and a lot of folks listen to our show are
yeah,
such veteran travelers to Walt Disney World. We don't see it from this perspective, but I guarantee you, somebody checked into Riverside today or
mhm.
Caribbean Beach, and the same thing happened. Even though you don't have
Oh
Old
yeah,
Port Royale, those they're like you're in Alligator Bayou, building 43,
yeah,
and they're like,
exactly.
"Holy cow, where is that?" Because
Where's
they've
building 43? There's that many buildings.
exactly.
Yeah,
They're like, I've only stayed in a Motel 6 back in, Poplar Bluff, Missouri
right.
before. It's challenging. I get it.
Yeah. One
We're
more
all
thing about this. So, like, again, this is our first time ever at Disney, and we were that family where Emily was like really little, just got off the plane and all that. She had a blowout, like with the
oh,
diaper. So she's not even wearing pants when all this is happening.
oh my
I was
god.
like, and I see that today. I'm like, dang, can someone put some pants on that kid? And like, yeah, we were that family at one point. We were rookies, Mike. We didn't know what we were
That's it.
doing.
We're all there, and sometimes we go right back. And
Yeah.
guess what? Ricky, your day's coming.
Yeah, exactly. I can't wait to hear Ricky's stories about
I
that.
cannot wait. Okay, my next picture I have up on the screen. I'm gonna make some of the. I have a ton. I was showing Scott before the show because he told me about this. He gave me about 24 hours head idea on this, so I was ripping through Google Photos, and I favored it a ton. So this one's going to be a quick one. This one is the first time Paige, when she was 7, we went to Blizzard Beach and she wanted to go down Summit Plummet to show that she was brave. And again, at the time, I don't know, this probably isn't true anymore. They said this was the tallest water slide in the United States. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't, but it was
Yeah.
tall because I went behind her and I was a little freaked out as an adult because it's like straight down. But I will tell you what, this picture's funny because it's hard to see in this picture. Let me see if I can solo it in here. You can see her. She's getting out of the water because that's me. And there's a big old like cloud of water. That's me. She's on the side and she's pulling up her suit because it
Yeah.
gave you the worst wedgie because you're going so fast and that water hits you at the bottom so hard when it like decelerates you when you get to the flat part. And the funniest thing is, I was telling Scott about this when I showed him this picture, is in the foreground of this picture, there's actually a radar gun that tells you how far. And I don't know this again, could this be like Scott said, like test track? Is it fake? Who knows? It's Disney, but it says I was going 52 miles an hour, which I don't know if I'm supposed to be going 52 miles an hour because I mean you didn't have a mat or anything. You just basically went over the side of a cliff up on the top of this water slide and just, straight
And
down.
that's you. That's not you inside a vehicle. That is
No,
you.
that's me inside of my skin, like on a sheet of water. And that's me in the big cloud. You can't see me. The big puff of like whiteness right there is where I am. And that's Paige on the side pulling up her suit, looking at me, trying to find me, see if I lived. So that was just a fun day. But yeah, the Summit Plummet, we haven't been back to Blizzard. Like Mallory's never been to a water park. We haven't been back in 15 years. So, but those
Yeah.
are fun times. I don't know if I could do Summit Plummet again though. If I had to,
I don't think I could. I don't know if I have the guts or I don't know, man. Like, or like I'd just be worried how much pain I'd be in too.
Oh, dude,
It's
it
just
was
crazy to think.
it did hurt, man. It was, I
Yeah.
mean, that water stings. It was no joke. Okay, give
Yeah.
us your next story.
All right. So I don't think you were the biggest fan of this, but my family loved it. And I just talked about this when we were down there for marathon weekend because you and me and Liz, the day of the 5K, we actually went and did a character meet and greet, and we saw Pluto right as you're like entering World Showcase, like the World Show place. As you're entering Mexico, you go to your left, and there's like this nice little like gazebo, and it was Pluto. And we're like, hey, yeah, we got our Pluto medals on. Let's go meet Pluto. And I think I even commented to you then. I was like, dang, I really miss Duffy.
Yep,
like,
Duffy.
like
Yeah, Duffy,
I
the
mean,
Disney
it might
bear.
not have been for everybody, but like we were just the age of our family was just perfect at the time, you know, with Emily being like 4 or 5 or 6, like because he was around for a couple of years. And we just loved meeting Duffy in that pavilion. And Mike, I have so many photos of us meeting Duffy and then seasonal Duffys too. Like he would have like a Halloween costume on sometimes or like a Santa outfit. Like it was amazing how he would just like change his outfits all the time. And then one of my favorite things. I don't know if you ever did this, Mike, but like if you were in that queue, like it like told like the story of Duffy and how he was like Mickey's traveling pet or like stuffed
Didn't he have
bear.
something
And
with a boat? Like when Mickey was on like a
yes,
cruise or
yeah.
something?
Like well, I mean, we have like a Duffy book and like all this stuff too. Like there's like you can go and take a deep dive on Duffy, but like I just when we were taking that photo together, I was like, dang, like I really missed that. And like I missed all the stuffed animals. I mean, we probably have half of them that they ever created in the room next to me and in Emily's room, but it was just a cool thing that I kind of missed. Like, and then to tie it into more stuff around like Epcot, like I loved the Duffy, like you know, the Kit Kat centers where you would kind of like color the Duffy and like Emily would always be so strategic. Like, okay, there's 11 countries. I got color 1/11 of like the colors of America.
That's exactly, and I showed you the picture earlier from the Kit Kat Fun Stops page. She would do the exact same thing with those masks because
Oh yeah,
before the Duffys they had this kind of masks, and so Paige would do the same thing. 1/11th of the mask at each country, and the thing was she could only use the colors of that country's flag.
yep, yes, that's how Emily was too.
That's exactly how it was. So, like in Italy, it could only be like red and green and white, and for that
Yep.
1/11,
Canada is like basically
right,
just
red and
red.
white. Yeah, red.
Yeah,
Yeah, totally.
yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what Paige did. Every trip we'd come home with it, and she also would always get like the person working it, like the Canada person working the Kit Kat Fun Stop would like sign it, or like write,
Yes.
2-page like in
Yeah.
their language. I mean, obviously Canadian, they're English, but like
Yeah, well, that's how like the
French.
Duffy thing. I don't remember the mask, but that's what they would do with the Duffy because they would like it had a stick, so they would like write your name,
Yeah,
supposedly
totally.
like in that language or whatever. Like, gosh, we have so many of those Duffy sticks around too, like in just a pile of like. It's probably
Yes.
with those 25 photos we have from the camera shop, but
That's why I love
but
this though, because pictures bring back the stories and the memories, right? Because that is exactly what we did with
yeah.
Paige.
And my kid was so happy. I know Paige was happy too. Like, and I know Mallory and Emily would even do some of this stuff together
Yeah.
when they finally met. Like, I miss it. Like now you go to a Kit Kat and they give you like a Ziploc bag with something in it. Like I don't even know for sure. Like it's completely different now. And I miss the Duffy. Like it was fun.
And it worked out well for us because I mean, this was a time when we were just going as a family of 3. Like this was, 2006, 2007. We started the podcast in 2008. So it was before the podcast or anything. So it was just us 3. We didn't know anybody else down there. And we had, like Pam and I would just sit there and talk with Paige. And I mean, because think about this. This was pre-Twitter. This was
Oh,
like
yeah.
iPhone. This was such a different world for us. We just sit there and talk and watch her color and talk to the person working the Kit Kat Fun Stop and learn about it was bliss. It was great. It was wonderful.
Yep.
Great times. Okay, so
Very
here's
good times.
okay, my next picture. And we are going to put all these on Instagram. Okay, so swing by Be Our Guest. They'll be on my Instagram. So just search for Be Our Guest Mike and we'll put them on there. I might have to do a couple of posts. This one Scott has not seen. Now, if you were at Epcot in the mid 2000s, you had to have seen this. Scott didn't see this. These things were always there and you could buy these. It was like a Six Flags thing. It was so not Disney. Okay, so there was the breezeway at Epcot. It was between the electric umbrella and Mouse Gear. Okay, so that breezeway there, if you're going in and you go past Spaceship Earth, walking towards World Showcase, and you turn left, you're going towards Mission Space and Test Track, you go through that breezeway. Every time you went through this breezeway at this time, they sold these gigantic gigantic balls. Like they were kind of like fabric on the outside of them, but they were huge. And so I have this picture on the screen of Paige. Once again, this is not Mallory. This is Paige with some random kids playing with this ball. And I am not I am not exaggerating. This ball is probably 10 feet across. It is huge.
It's massive.
The kids are dwarfed by this ball, and these kids are probably 8 to 10. And I mean, I'm telling you what, like, because I remember these things. They would hit like guests walking through there, and they would almost knock you over because they were huge. And it was and I think they kind of floated on like a thing of air when kids weren't playing with them or something. There was some gimmick, but they were almost like something you get at a Six Flags, or like they had them at malls. But this thing was like 10 times larger than the normal one. Paige wanted one of these so bad. And I'm like, Paige, back then I was scared to fly, right? It wouldn't have mattered. But I was like, we are not getting one of these. Like, what are we going to do? This thing is like as big as our backyard. Like, what are we going to do when we get home? What are we going to do with this thing? We always wanted one. And it was like, $50 or something. I'm like, no, get something else. Like, get a different souvenir. But I just want to know, like, if our listeners remember these, I can almost see the name of it there on the side. It says, I can't tell what it says, but and I'll put it on Instagram. But if you remember this, let me know, because these things, Paige wanted one of these so bad. And I always cracked up because we always it was almost like an attraction. Like, okay, we're going to go over ride test track, but we always had to mark off 10 minutes so Paige could stop and play with the gigantic.
You kind of wish you could go back in time and get one now, don't you?
Oh, I totally do.
Yeah.
I can totally get one now that I have the means, because back then we were just poor, teachers who couldn't afford a corn dog.
You would have to and you drove back then, so you had to tie it to the top of the car.
They gave it to you,
you had to buy it as it.
Yeah, but like inflating this thing would have taken a month when you got home. This thing, I'm telling you what, man, it is gigantic. Like it's a quarter the size of Spaceship Earth. Let's just put it that way. It's gigantic. But I just want to know if anybody remembers these things, because this picture, it looks like it's out of scale, but it's not. This thing was enormous. If you remember those gigantic balls, let me know, because that's just one of those weird things that Epcot had for a brief period, and they're gone.
I hope someone else has this photo. I just want to blow up the social media with like a bunch of photos of this. Yeah, it's so great.
Because I'm telling you what, it was always there for like a couple of years. Okay, give us your next story behind your picture.
All right, so I just found like a random selfie. Back before like selfies were kind of cool. This is like 2013. I don't know how I did it. Like with a DSLR camera, pretty impressive. But it's me standing next to a poster of Captain EO. Oh man. And I know you got some great memories and stories about Captain EO tied to a Halloween party in particular, but it just got me thinking about that theater, right? So you were talking about Figment and that meet and greet earlier, kind of over by Imagination, and that Epcot theater, like an Imagination area. Like, I wish they could do like something more with it. Like, it doesn't have to be like bring back Captain EO or bring back Honey, I Shrunk the Audience, but I'd like to get something new, like a new 3D, 4D show. Like, I mean, what they have in there is cool, right? Those Pixar shorts. They're really cool, but they've been there like, gosh, how long? Like 5 years, like, and they haven't done anything with it. Like, but I just think about those fun memories of seeing Captain EO. Like my daughter, the first time, like Michael Jackson comes out and Captain EO, and like, the show's over, she's like, that girl is awesome. I'm like, well, that's Michael Jackson. Like, because I mean, it was the 80s. It was awesome. I mean, like everything about that. Angelica Houston is in there. Like, that whole soundtrack. But you had like George Lucas and like the Godfather director and like, or someone from the Godfather. I can't remember, the name is escaping me.
There's another famous, and I'm so bad at movies, but I know.
But then the pre-show was so great too. Like Joe Rody was in the pre-show that they would have like in the waiting room. Like
there's like people in the like leotards, like the dancers and stuff. They're so weird.
Yeah, and I know this wouldn't like do anything for like new like Epcotians, as they would say in Guardians of the Galaxy, but it would just be such a good flashback if they brought it back, like just temporarily, if they announced today, like Captain EO is coming for Flower and Garden between April and June, I'm booking a trip because I want to see it. You know what I mean?
It was, dude, for a while, I'm not kidding. Go back and listen to the shows. When Captain EO came back for a brief period, I said that was the best attraction at Walt Disney World, because it was a time capsule. Like you got to go back in time when you went in to see that show. I mean, I kind of said it tongue in cheek, but it was an opportunity to go back in time, and it was great. Yeah, I
even if they did the Honey, I blew up the audience or shrunk the audience because I never saw that. I don't know if you ever saw that in
Oh, I
that
did.
theater
Yeah, it was
either.
cool. Like the snake would come out at you and the mice would be down at your feet.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
Like,
really good.
I mean, I think that's something easy they could do, right? Like just change it out like every like few months or 6 months or a year even, like not keep the same thing in there for 5
I
years, you
agree.
know?
I agree. And it wouldn't be that hard, like you said. Yeah, I bought a Captain EO shirt. Like I have a, the
Oh, dude, I'm jealous. You have a Captain EO shirt?
I don't know where it is, but yeah, I bought it because I wore it for that costume that year. It's around somewhere. Yeah, I'm gonna find that in my Afro wig because that was awesome. Okay, my next picture is I'm sporting all the Cardinal gear in this one, by the way, man. I was all cardinaled up with my Cardinal shirt, my Cardinal hat. But this one is fun because it's actually taken on the streets of America at Disney's Hollywood Studios, which obviously doesn't exist anymore. This used to be where they did the Osborne Spectacle of Family Lights in the Christmas time, which I really miss. But this is now where Galaxy's Edge is. And, that's kind of, this is weird because this is totally a different land at this point. But it's a picture of Paige and I with Kim Possible and the guy's name was like Ron Stoppable, I think was his name. Now that I think about it, something like that. But like she was such a Kim Possible fan, and it's just one of those things. These are face characters, and it just shows that. And again, this wasn't something you queued up for. They were just kind of because if you remember Streets of America over at the studios, there were kind of like stoops on the sides of both sides of the street,
Yep.
and like they had curbs and they had like steps up to some fake buildings. In Kim Possible and Ron Stoppable, I think I'm gonna go with that. If that's not his name, I don't know.
Just go with it, man. It sounds awesome.
The blonde kid's hanging out with Kim Possible. Like they were just kind of hanging out up there, and you could just literally walk right up to them. Hey, can we get a picture? And you did. It was such a different time. Like you said, like we didn't have to pay $20 for a lightning lane to get a picture. Like we just walked up because they were just hanging out on the street. And the funny thing is, like I didn't notice this until a minute ago. Like I'm looking in the reflection, and I can see Pam taking our picture. And it's just fun to look back at the technology because she's using a point and shoot little, little handheld camera. It's digital, obviously, but it's one of those early Canon snapshot cameras, which is, it's not a cell phone. Nobody's taking selfies. It's an actual digital camera, which is kind of fun.
That's so awesome.
Rocking the Crocs. You can see,
dude. I love the Streets of America, like because I was looking through some of those photos too. Like, do you remember there used to be like a giant Coca-Cola bottle out there? Like, I found a photo of Elizabeth and Emily like just measuring up to the Coke bottle. And
well, here's one more real quick. Let me show you this
ahead.
real quick, but because I want to get to. I just want to waste this one real quick. Speaking of Streets of America, I just had it. Hang on, let me find it here because I'm going to put this right here. This is Streets of America with the Power Rangers coming cruising down in like an old 50s kind of car that's painted like, I don't know, like lightning bolts. What would you call that? It's but I mean I never watched the Power Rangers, and I had girls, they didn't watch Power Rangers. I mean there was a girl Power Ranger, but like Paige never watched Power Rangers, so I never connected with them. But it just seems like it's a weird thing to see at Disney, like to me. But they were coming up right behind us, so we took a picture of them. There they are, right there, and that's Lights Motor Action right behind.
That's so crazy to think. Like because like we're Disney fans, so we'll like go back in the history books and look at like MGM history, things like that. Like there were times when the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were at MGM Studios. Like, isn't that crazy to think? Like Power Rangers and the Turtles, like that's crazy to me. But
exactly. Okay, go ahead and give another picture of the story, because I'll make sure I get a few more in.
Ironically, I was going to stick to the same area. Okay. I'm going to October 16th, 1983, my 30th birthday. We did 4 parks in one day for the first time that day, and we started at Hollywood Studios, and our attraction for the day was the backlot tour. And man, like we have such a great photo shoot of this. I lost my wedding ring that day because I was like volunteered. Remember when they would do like the Pearl Harbor, like blow up the water? Yeah. Well, that's where I'm going to. Yeah. So like the first scene was like the Pearl Harbor thing. Yes. I was a volunteer. I lost my wedding ring. It's gone forever, but that's totally fine. But what I really want to hit on were like all these photos that we had of Catastrophe Canyon. And I think that might've been the first time we ever did it, Mike. And so like we're on like the shuttle or the train or whatever, like going through the scene, and it kind of stops, look at this rock work. Then all of a sudden there's like fire. Then all of a sudden there's like all this crazy water. And like, I didn't know what was happening, Then I'm on the end, like the closest to the water. And I might have screamed, Mike, because I swore that water was about to like just over tower like the train that we're on. I was like, "Watch out, everybody!" Like, they probably loved me because they probably thought like I was in character or something. But no, I wasn't. Like I thought for real, like we were gonna drown, like where we were. But and then like there was like remember like the gas truck or whatever, like that
Yeah, like
explodes.
like yeah, like the 18-wheeler tanker that
Yes,
like would like come sideways, like it was gonna tip over right on top of the tram and blow
yeah.
up. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
It was so cool. And like ever since, like, I mean, there was, I think it was gone shortly after that, but every trip we took down after that, or anytime we are in the studios, we always made sure we did that because it was a cool way to like stay off your feet, you know, for like, because it was kind of long, like 30 minutes, not as long as the OG. Like I've heard like the original Backlight
Like
tour was like
4
half a
hours or
day or
something.
something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Something crazy like that. But I just thought that was like the coolest thing, just like with that explosion. And like we have so many great photos of it. I think I actually have video of it of like the water closely like coming in on us, and it's just a fun memory.
Yeah, we got Galaxy's Edge now, which
We
is amazing,
did.
right? Rise of Resistance, Smuggler's Run. You got, all
The whole land,
whole
is
area
great.
is,
Yeah.
but man, I lament losing something like the Backlot Tour because and the Great Movie Ride, kind of the same story, right? It's because I know a lot of times you go back and you think about the grass is greener in the good old days. Like, I mean, we get that, right? I'm very
Yeah.
nostalgic. I'm terrible about that, but you made a great point. It was a great way to get off your feet. And that was kind of the essence of the studios. And I know the studios has kind of changed to more of an attraction kind of thrill park than
Yep.
a production studio, but everybody could enjoy that. And it had repeatability. Like I wouldn't mind doing that a 10th or a 12th time. Like that
Yep.
would still be just as fun.
Yeah, and you and I, even before we recorded, we're kind of talking about that because that whole area is just gone now. I mean, it's Galaxy's Edge, but I know this didn't get a whole lot of love. But I was telling you before the show, this is my in-laws' favorite thing they did when they went on our first trip with us, and that was lights, motor, action. Like,
Yeah.
believe it or not, and that was fun too. That's like, it's just crazy. Like that whole piece of the park, like there was like all these like big major things you could do. I mean, not like e-ticket, but it would keep you off your feet. There were they would just bring in all these crowds in these stadiums and tours, but it was cool, Mike. It was really cool.
It was. We loved it too. So I'm right with you. Okay, so my next picture it's a couple of pictures, and it's a picture of Paige and her friend Molly, who we took down with us. They were best friends, and they played all their sports together. They grew up together, and so we took her down with us one summer, and we went down for a week, stayed at Pop Century, and we went to Typhoon Lagoon in this picture. And so you see them standing here, just like cute as anything in their little swimsuits. We're in the wave pool at Typhoon Lagoon, and they're in front of Miss Tilly, kind of just looking at the camera. So that's them before the horn goes off. Oops, let me go the other way. And here's the next picture because here comes the wave. And so you see them getting ready to just get smoked out. If you've been to Typhoon Lagoon in the wave pool, you know what I'm talking about. It's not just a bunch of waves. They blow the horn, and then a tidal wave / tsunami comes at you with full force. We've talked about this. I've lost a couple of pair of sunglasses that have gotten busted. Scott has busted up I think a family from Australia.
Yeah, I took out a family of Australia. Yep.
It's nuts. Like, who knows where you're going to go. These two were probably about 50 pounds each at the time. They were little bitty things. So this was before they probably went flying 50 feet in the air. I mean, like the instant before. And if you look in the back corner of this picture, you can see somebody, and I can't tell if that's their rear end up top or if that's their foot or if that's their head. I can't tell because I'm telling you what, I don't know if they've tamed it down because like I said, I haven't been to a water park in probably 15 years, but I just know back then this thing was violent. Like, I mean, this thing would hit you like a Mack truck. And it was every time you would see somebody getting killed. And I mean, this picture, I can't tell if this person, if they're upside down or right side up. I just see some skin and some swimsuit, and I can't tell which way they're headed. I mean, I know they're heading toward the camera because that's where the water's coming, but that was just the essence of Typhoon Lagoon. And the story behind it is we used to go to the water parks every time because it was included in our Ultimate Park Hopper tickets. And I do love those days too, because you didn't have to think about it. You didn't have theme park reservations. You didn't have to even worry about it. You had tickets to everything. So you woke up that morning. Oh, it's a nice day. Let's go to Typhoon Lagoon this morning. Then we'll go to the Magic Kingdom in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Those were the days too.
Those were the days. What I'm learning from this though, Mike, is that I think we need to have like a water park day like this year.
We do.
Like, you said Mallory hasn't even been right to like
Never
Typhoon
been
or
to a water
anything.
park at Walt
Yeah.
Disney. Nope.
And honestly, like, so like, so as a DVC member, you know, they have those Moonlight Magic like specials, and I think they were doing some Typhoon like Rex nights or whatever in last year too. But we did the Moonlight Magic one. That might have been one of my most favorite Disney days I had in 2022. It's just something about being in the water parks at night. Like, you don't have to worry about like sunscreen or anything like that. Like, you're not gonna get like burned or like super hot. And
I've never been in
awesome.
I've never been in a water park at night. I like night swimming for that exact
Yeah,
fact.
just think about like night swimming, but up like 5 notches, right? Like, it's so awesome.
Because you don't, like you said, you don't have to worry about getting sunburned, because I always get sunburned, you know, because I'm kind of fair skinned. Yeah, we need to make that happen. Do one of the night events if they have them this summer. That'd be great. We totally need to do that. Okay, give us another story. I love this stuff, man. We could go on and on because I have so many pictures and so do you.
Oh, for sure. So this one is like really random, Mike. And it because I had to like look at it. I was like, what is that? You know, it's a food item. And so, I mean, this isn't really epic or anything, but it's the Be Our Guest restaurant, like lunch. Remember when it used to be like counter service? You would go in and like get sandwiches.
Yes.
And I kind of missed that because, like, honestly, like that was like my kind of hack for going into the restaurant, you know, like it was easier, it was cheaper, like you could choose the room you wanted to dine in. So like when you go for dinner, they would like automatically seat you in one of the rooms. So it was a way for you to like explore the restaurant more. And I just remember like we would do that every single trip. And like I loved that sandwich. It was just kind of cool to have like a different offering too. And I was just like kind of looking at it. I was like, what is that from? I'm like, oh yeah, it's from the Be Our Guest restaurant. Like,
what was it? We did that too. It was like wasn't like a French dip or like a roast beef kind of?
Yes, mine was a roast beef that I had, but I know like there was other ones too. And I mean, it was counter service food, right? But it was at that time though, it felt better because it was kind of like how when Primo Piatto first launched, you would like sit down, they give you like actual silverware. You know, you sit at a nice table, it was air conditioning. And like you were basically getting the whole like theme of the restaurant. Now, I don't think the Beast was around then because he was only around at dinner time, if I recall. But you can get such great like family photos of the restaurant. And I kind of wish they would just bring that back. I mean, that's never coming back though. Let's be real. Like they're making way more money with what they're doing now with the restaurant. But that was just an interesting moment in time where you can go there for lunch and get those sandwiches. I like that.
Yeah, remember because it was like big talk in the Disney community. It was that hybrid model, right? It's a restaurant. Is it a table service? It is a counter service. Well, it's both. It flips. You know, before dinner, they flip the restaurant from
because we thought that was going to be like a new thing that was going to come to any new restaurant basically at Walt Disney World, and that never really happened, unfortunately.
Nope. They must have decided we can make more money.
We can make more money if we make it a prefix.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so series of pictures here coming up. This one, you might not think it's a big deal picture, but I mean, this was the story of our very first Disney trips every year. Paige and Mallory, still to this day, are both picky eaters. And the one thing Paige always liked was chicken nuggets from McDonald's. And so you might think, well, you can't get chicken nuggets from McDonald's at Walt Disney World. You are correct, but you could back in the day, because back in the day, they used to have McDonald's at Disney Springs. It was downtown Disney. It was over next to the World of Disney in the marketplace. And so this is a picture of Paige walking through downtown Disney with her friend Molly again, both proudly. I mean, they're holding up their Happy Meal boxes as though they are their favorite souvenirs. So yes, we did have Happy Meals there. The next picture is also from downtown Disney. This one is from inside Disney Quest. And this is the girls sketching on these tablets, you know, built into they look like little Mickey things, but they're doing the Animation Academy at Disney Quest. And then they printed out the pictures at the end. That was kind of fun in Disney Quest. And then this picture, now this one, I just want to throw in here to see if people remember this. This one's from the studios. Again, another attraction you cannot do anymore. And I missed this one. This was such a great attraction, but of course it wouldn't really work anymore. This is the girls sitting down at their terminals at Who Wants to Be a Millionaire Play It. And you can tell it's got the screen in front of every seat, but in front of them, it has on a touchpad that says like 1, 2, 3, and 4. And it tells you like what seat you're in, like Paige is in 6 and Molly's in 7. And so you would have this host that kind of looked like Regis Philbin out in the middle. They had all the lights that go, and like the spotlight would go on the person in the hot seat. And the hot seat person was actually picked from the audience, and they would play until they lost, and they pick the next person. So everybody in the crowd would play, and whoever was in first place in the crowd, when the person in the hot seat lost, if the show continued, because the show went on for like 30 minutes, if there was still time left, when the person in the hot seat lost, the next person in the crowd, like they'd show a scoreboard, you got to go to the hot seat. I was at the top of the audience one time when the show ended. I was like, dang it,
No.
I'm so fired up. But you could actually win a Disney cruise if you won this thing.
Could you imagine?
Cruise. I mean, it would have been hard, right? It was gambling, right? Because you
Yeah.
start off like you'd win like a pin, like what park are you in? Disney's Hollywood Studios. Is that your final answer? Yes. You win a pin. And it would get harder and harder. Like, and you could actually phone a friend. They would call people like out on the Mickey Avenue. It was awesome.
Oh, that's awesome.
This was so cool. This was such a great attraction. Because again, like the backlight you mentioned, I hope people are enjoying this show, because I hope you're bringing back memories, or you didn't get to experience this stuff and you get to hear how awesome this stuff was. Because like, again, this was when the studios was still kind of about production in movies and TV. And it felt like the set in there looked just like the TV show. And when they would call like phone a friend, it was hilarious. Because I don't know if this was fixed or not, because you're inside the building, so who knows. But like, it would be like Bob from Springdale, Arkansas. And he'd be like, he would have a clue. I'm like, are they really setting these people up, or did they really just get Bob out there? I wanted to know, like, I wanted to like stalk out there and see, like, okay, next show, I want to see how do they get the phone a friend dude.
Right.
I want to be that guy. But it was just, it's a great picture of them, and they have their faces painted because they always had to do that. Did Emily ever have to do the face paint thing? Because they did that at the studio.
Oh God, they did. At the Magic Kingdom, like in Tomorrowland over by Space Mountain, was like spot where Emily always got her face painted. Yeah, that was always a thing. And then it would usually be like before a character meal. So then like she would look like even more ridiculous, like with Eeyore or whatever, like with her face all painted like a butterfly or something. Yeah.
No, they wouldn't go swimming. Like you just,
yeah, exactly.
Your face painted. You aren't going swimming tonight. What? No. Okay, let's go one more each. Okay, go one more.
One more. Okay, so we kind of teased this one earlier, but I was just looking through some photos again, and I'm like, where am I? So it's got to be a good photo, right? If you're like, I can't even tell where that is. I'm like laying on some like purplish kind of furniture, and it just hit me. It's Interventions at Epcot. It's from the like Where's the Fire game, or like the Great Piggy Adventure. Do you remember those games at Interventions?
We love those games. Okay, so especially Where's the Fire? Now, if you
Where's the Fire was great
because you had those like modified flashlights that you would go through the house, because you played team against team. It was like the Fillmores and the oh man, what were the names?
I can't remember the teams, Mike. It's been so long.
Oh, you got to help us out, listeners. Help us out. Who are the two teams in Where's the Fire? But you would go through the house and like shoot at stuff that was like, actually, I'd be shooting at all kinds of stuff in the studio at this point. Yeah. Just like, plugs that have 17 things coming out of them. Right now.
So good.
Didn't learn much, but that was the bomb. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and the Great Piggy Bank Adventure or whatever was really fun too. Like you had this little pig, and then you go around and like save this money, collect all this stuff. But there was more to it than just that. Like we teased about the photo, the Visa card holder, but like Mike, it was just so funny. And this is like when I started going, it probably was even crazier before I started, going in 2011. But you going in there, there'd be like Nintendo and Xbox, PlayStation games that you could just go in and play. And then they had the two sides. Did you ever do like the Sum of All Thrills or whatever? Because that's a regret I have. I did not do that at the other Interventions.
I never did Sum of All Thrills because I was scared it would make
you sick. Yeah.
And same with Disney Quest had something called Cyberspace Mountain. I didn't want to have nothing to do with that. Kind of the same thing, a Kuka Arm kind of simulated roller coaster.
Yeah, but I missed that, and I know there was like thoughts of like that new pavilion, like the Play Pavilion, was going to kind of be like Interventions, and I know that's been scrapped, which is kind of a bummer for me. I mean, it might not be for everybody, right? And maybe like I would hardly go to it, but we always talk about like wanting options, and maybe not all the options are for us, but it'd be fun to have like some of these like fun like interactive games, because like I just missed that. Like you go to Epcot, you kind of do all the same stuff over and over. Like Interventions, like just though it felt outdated sometimes, but it was still kind of fresh. It was fun, and for the families, you got to do these interactive games. And I don't know, Mike, I kind of miss it. And looking at these photos, I see all the smiles on my family's face. Like we had a blast playing those games in Interventions.
Yeah, it's one of those things like with Interventions. I mean, it had like we skipped it so many times, but now that I've looked back, like we had so many fun times there. Like you said, you could ride segways in there.
Yeah.
Like they had the fire truck. We got our picture taken in front of that fire truck, or like on the fire truck, many times. I'm trying to find the names of those teams. I found an article, but I can't find it. Anyway, you got to let
At
it.
the very least, it was a good way to get a blast of some air conditioning too.
Oh,
You know?
totally. Yeah, but I miss it.
I did see like people like nap, like they like rest, get their back like leaned up against the wall, and their kid would just run around, play all the games. They take a nap. Like, I mean, I don't encourage that, but you know what? If everyone in the family's happy, then that's good.
Yeah, totally. I know. We all need naps, not just little babies. I'm telling you. Okay, I said one picture, but this one's real quick just because Splash Mountain just went away. This is us getting evacuated off of Splash Mountain, going down the big hill back in 2007. That was fun. So we got evacuated right down the big lift hill of Splash Mountain. So RIP Splash Mountain. But here's going to be my last one that I will share the story behind it. And again, this is a 2-picture story. This was the before. And this is a picture of Paige and Molly and Pam. We're all happy. We're sitting at Beaches and Cream in a booth. This is the old Beaches and Cream before it got expanded. This was the tiny, teeny Beaches and Cream back when it was. I liked it better like that. But
I'm about to say that actually was almost going to be one of mine, like the old Beaches and Cream.
Yeah,
like
it was better. I mean, but it's easier to get in now. So
it's easier to get in, but it felt like more like an old soda pop.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it felt more themed back then because even got the little thing on the table that's got like the song
the
names,
jukebox song. Yeah.
So anyway, in this picture in the foreground is the legend. It's the kitchen sink. We have the kitchen sink. We ordered the kitchen sink, and it's there. And Molly, so that's Paige's best friend. I don't know. She looks scared in this picture of the kitchen sink. It is obviously frightening her. I don't know if she knew what was to come, but it was scaring her. Paige looks super excited. She's making a big fist, like she's let's go. Pam is happy, and I'm taking the picture, so I'm sure I'm very happy about this. So the other picture that I want to show, we destroyed it. There's probably I didn't find a picture of us like after the gooey mess afterwards, but the picture after. So this was about an hour after, and this is a picture of all 4 of us in a Surrey bike over at the boardwalk. Okay, so we walked from the beach club over to the boardwalk because Paige was obsessed with these Surrey bikes, those rental Surrey bikes you can get at Riverside, all over Walt Disney World. So I promised her we'd ride it. And so this was the night we had to do it because like it was at the end of the trip. It was like I had to keep my word because this was actually just when Pam and I had gotten married. I'm trying to be the good stepdad and all that stuff. So I had just eaten probably 7,000 calories. And this is in July. And you know how it is in July at Walt Disney World. The humidity is probably 112%. I'm guaranteeing the temperature is still probably 83 degrees. And I mean, I was not in good shape back then either. So they didn't have a 4-seater where the girls could pedal. They only had a 2-seater. So what we did was it's just Pam and I in this thing. And we had to put the girls in the luggage rack. So the girls are in the front of this thing. They're both like 8 at this point. They're sitting in the luggage rack with no pedals. So they're just dead weight. They're just sitting there dead weight. They're happy as can be because they're souped up. I mean, Molly's got like her eyes are like glazed over because she's had so much sugar. The Paige is like ready to rock, dude. She can tell she's had 7,000 times as much sugar as she needed. She's ready to go. The person who rented it to us took our picture. I'll tell you what, though, we have music playing all of a sudden here from somewhere. Oh my gosh, my phone's playing that song. Okay, let me stop this here. What's going on? It just played a song called "Ready to Rock."
Because you're ready. Because Paige was ready to rock.
So anyway, okay, back to this. Here we go. So this, I look kind of scared, but I'm kind of happy. What happened was, we rented the Surrey bike. And if you've ever ridden one of these bikes, they're super heavy. They look fun. When you see other families doing this, you think they're having fun. They're not. These things are as heavy as a Volkswagen. And Paige just wanted to go as fast. She was like, faster, Mike, faster, faster. And so we're trying to go around the boardwalk. And of course, you go to that hill over by the Swan and the Dolphin. Oof. This thing is super hard, especially when you got dead weight. You got 2 girls that can't pedal. Pam isn't pedaling that much. I'm pedaling for 4 people. Oh, all I know is I almost got sick this night.
Did someone give you the courtesy push up the hill?
They did. And that's a good point. I always give families courtesy pushes when I see them on these Surrey bikes because I've been there. But the thing was, I had a burger, onion rings, and a kitchen sink. And I probably have most of the kitchen sink because these three didn't eat much of it.
Yeah.
And then I got on this thing. This went from one of the best nights of my life to one of the worst nights of my life. So it was like a great picture. And when I look at this picture, I'm like, Mike, if you only knew how you're going to feel in 30 minutes after the shot, you were going to be done. You were going to just be hating life. But it's one of those things like, great ideas. Like, things at Walt Disney World sometimes appear more fun than they actually are going to be. But
Yeah.
great memory, though.
It's safe to say when you got back to Pop Century, you did not get a tie-dye cheesecake wedge.
I did not. I don't think I got one for the next day either. I don't want to see food. I don't want to see sweets. It was and actually it's funny because the shirt I have on, we were down there for a space shuttle launch because it says Discovery. It was this STS. I can't tell 144. I can't tell, but it was we used to go down when there were space shuttle launches and we'd drive over to Kennedy and watch the space shuttle launches. So I got that shirt at the launch. So that kind of sets the time period too for this this trip.
This is fun, man, going down memory lane. I love telling the story behind the photos.
And the thing is, I think a lot of people just leave these photos sitting on their phones and stuff and never go back. And I'm guilty of that too. And I think Google and Apple do a good job of, resurfacing like 10 years ago or 12 years ago. And a lot of times I just kind of dismiss them because I'm busy, I'm working, I'm on the phone or whatever. But when you go back and really look at these pictures, like look at the details, because I think what you forced me to do by talking to me about this 24 hours ago was I went in and found some pictures. But then, like I said, like I looked at the background of the pictures, like the camera that Pam is taking using in the reflection, or that first pair of Crocs that she has. Those things were like unique. Nobody had
the Pop Century photo. Remember of like the trees just look so different now, and it's so awesome.
Yeah, because we stayed at Pop Century, and like every tree in this picture that I'm showing is just super small. I mean, baby trees, and now they're huge. So. Yeah, fun show. Hope everybody enjoyed it. Now we're going to put these on Instagram. So again, look at Be Our Guest Mike. Look at Epscott, EPSCOT. He'll put his there, and we'll try to get them all together at somehow. But we got a lot of pictures, so Scott can put his there initially. I'll put mine on mine, and then we can maybe blend them together. But the goal of this show is always to kind of just entertain you and give you some great memories to get through your commute, to get through your run, walking the dog, doing the dishes, whatever. We hope we did that for you today, and what I would love to hear is, I would love to have you share a picture and tag us. So at Epscott, at Be Our Guest Mike, Instagram or Twitter, tag us and post a picture like this from one of your very first trips where you didn't know anything about Disney. You were a rookie. You had no clue what you were getting.
You were at this thing called the Custom House and thought like, oh, is this the hotel lobby?
And put the story in the comment, right? Just for our entertainment and for everybody else. Cause it's so fun to hear these stories. Like I love telling them, but I love hearing about them more than that. So do that. Let's all kind of do that for the common good. We'll have some fun. You can do it on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, wherever you want to do that. So Scott, great idea. Thanks for coming on, man. What a great show.
Awesome. Yeah, I love this episode. Great way to start the week, and can't wait to do it again. Maybe we'll do this again sometime, Mike.
We definitely will. All right, don't forget our show brought to you by the Magic for Less Travel. Check them out for all your Disney trip planning needs. The agents are standing by right now over at themagicforless.com. Please also use our Amazon affiliate link when you shop online. That one extra click supports everything we do throughout the year. It's beourguestpodcast.com/Amazon. And a sincere thank you to the patrons of the Be Our Guest Podcast. You make all these shows possible. You make it so we don't have to use that Canon snapshot picture camera from back in the day. We actually can get an iPhone now to take the pictures. So thank you so much for that. And if you'd like to get in on our Mike in the Midwest show every week, you get that too. So come on over, patreon.com/Be Our Guest Podcast. Again, follow Scott in the social media at Epscott. I'm at Be Our Guest Mike. We'll be with you this Sunday night, 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Central. Facebook and YouTube will be taking your calls. So you can call in. Maybe you can share your favorite picture and tell the story behind that. And of course, we will be taking off for Super Bowl Sunday because we're not going to compete against the Super Bowl. So we'll have a show this Sunday night, but then the next Sunday, everybody can watch the big game. So we're not going to go against that. All right. So we're going to jump out of here. We'll be back again on Wednesday with more of your listener questions. So please come on back for more of the show. So for Scott, I'm Mike, wishing you a great Monday. Time to get back to work. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you real soon. Yeah, we're not doing the Super Bowl Sunday.
Yeah, even the PGA Tour doesn't mess with that. Like they don't even for like this week. So it's the Torrey Pines Farmers Insurance. Pretty like the first big tournament of the year. It starts today because they don't want the final round to be on Sunday for the championship Sunday.
Okay, yeah, because I got a thing on. I got a push notification from ESPN because the guy's trying to win his third in a row.
Oh, John Rahm, yeah.
And I was like, it's a Wednesday. Yeah,
nope,
the same thing when I saw it.
Because they know like
Thursday.
They know NFC and AFC championship game is going to be a huge rating, so they start the tournament a day early.
See, I didn't put that together. I was wondering because like when I saw that, I was confused for a minute. I was like, is it Thursday? Because I know golf.
Yeah, I love it because like Torrey Pines, like so it's in San Diego. Like I just love that area, and like I've driven by it, and I was like, sweet, I get golf on Wednesday and Thursday and Friday during the work week. I can have this streaming in the background while I work. It's awesome.
That is awesome.
I got an extra day of golf today.
I have got to figure out who it's the Fillmores in
the for Where's the Fire?
Yeah, drives me nuts. I know.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna figure.
Dude, I tell you, like I go through my photos like almost every day. Like I just try to, because it's so fun. Like you were like what you're saying at the end there. It's just so fun to look back. Like, I mean, even looking at the dogs. Like look at Oliver. Like look at that little guy.
When you really look at him too, you can see details. Like if you're, you know, like your yard and like your house, like. You know, pictures on the wall, stuff. I mean, I get into
the old beaches and cream. Like, oh man, I miss that so much.
Just go away.
Detroit Tigers pennant at All-Star Sports.
You know what? I found a picture when we stayed at Sports, and it's Mallory, or not Mallory, because Mallory wasn't around. It was Paige on the balcony, and I took the picture. So over her shoulder, it just says Tigers, but it's black and gold. You know, so it could be anybody's Tigers, but
that's sweet.
Yep. All right. Well, I'm going to edit this thing and put it up.
Okay. Awesome. All right. Have a good one, man. We'll see you.
Thanks for bailing me out again. Appreciate it.
No problem. See you, everyone.
All right. Bye. Why is that not working?